now you should see the news channel on Buckles Connect. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Great. All right, so welcome everybody. I'm Joseph from the Buckles office, and today we're going to go over LibCal. So I'm going to walk you through a basic tour of LibCal to start, how to log on, and then how to get to your calendar, and we'll walk through like the different options within your calendar, and then I'll show you how to customize it for your library, and then also how to add an event and the different types of events there are, how to manage those events, and the registration and creating registration forms. So has anybody used LibCal? Has anybody actually gone in and logged into the account?
Yeah, I have.
Excellent. So it's pretty simple. It's everything that we do today. You'll see there's a ton of like information tags that you can hover over, and it'll give you more information as you're going. So there's a lot. It's very user friendly, and they have a really robust support system as well. So you can find information through their site. And then we also have a bunch of documentation that some of it is linking directly to their site, and then others is documentation that we wrote, and we have that in Buckles Connect. So let's start by logging in. There's two different ways to get to LibCal. Right now, the easiest way is to log into Buckles Connect, and if you go to the launcher menu in the top right-hand corner, and click on that, and then you'll see the link for LibCal here. You can just click on that, and that'll open up your login page for LibCal. The other way you can do it is to go to the LibCal page on Buckles Connect. So that's under training. So I'm going to go to pages and then training, and you'll see we have a whole section on LibCal. And here you'll see all of our documentation. If you just want to put it in order, we just click file name, and this is the documentation that we have for LibCal. And over here, you see the link to get to the login page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. Opens up a new tab, and I'm going to log in, and I'll log in as a regular user. So you see basically what you would see when logging in as Franklin Lakes. When you first log in, just double check and make sure that the blue box up here in the top left-hand corner says LibCal. You may arrive on LibApps, and you can just click on that and choose LibCal. So this is our homepage. It shows me any of my upcoming events, and I have a draft event here that I can click on and get the details about, and we'll look into that in a minute. To get to your calendar, I'm going to click Events, and then if you just scroll down to Franklin Lakes, you'll click on the Franklin Lakes calendar. So I'm going to click there now just so you see there's not really much going on. You had one event created. There's no banner image or anything. You can see your public URL right here. So that is the URL that your patrons would see. So if I just go ahead and open that, I'm going to open it into a new tab so you can see this is what it looks like. Again, not a lot going on yet. And we'll talk about how to update the banner image, but this is the basic view. You can change the view over here, and this is again the patron view, so they'll be able to adjust this for themselves. You can set the default view, but basically we use the month view. I'm going to jump back over to this page. Now you'll notice across the top here, there aren't very many options because my account that I'm logged in right now does not work with Franklin Lakes. I don't have as many, I'm not an editor of that calendar. So I'm going to go to the calendar that I'm the editor of, and you'll see now I have many more options across the top. I also have a banner image, which I have uploaded. Here is my public URL, and I just want to point out I have one event here, and it is a draft event. I'm going to open up my public URL. If you go here, you'll see that doesn't actually exist on the public side because I have not published it yet. It is just a draft. So I'll go back over and look at that. So let's kind of explore what's happening here. This is my main calendar page. I can add an event from this page. I can just click on a day and start adding an event that way as well. I can navigate to a specific date. I can navigate through the month. And here are my filters over here. So I can add a filter to just bring up certain types of events, and I can change my view. I can also do a search with a keyword for a specific type of event or a specific event. Here's my print view options right here. And again, the banner image. The banner image, you can add a banner image by going to your profile. Oh, sorry, that's a complete lie. That is your event organizer box, and I'll get into that in just a second. But to add this banner image, basically what you need to do is upload an image to the system, and then you're going to take a bunch of code and add that code to your calendar settings. So I'm going to jump over to calendar settings right now. I'm going to skip a few of these things, jump over to calendar settings. So this page, you just want to check it out and make sure that everything looks good for you. The second box here has just a little bit of code in it, and it has basically a link and a URL where we're going to link to, where the banner links to, and then the banner image. So this is the link for the image here. It says SRC, and here's my link image, and then my alternate text. So I need to upload an image to the system, and you're going to do that by going to LibApps, and then you will choose image manager, and you'll upload your image there, grab the URL, and place it right into your calendar, right into that code. So I'm not going to go over specifics on how to do that because we have a really great documentation here. If you see this second document, customize your library calendar's banner image. If you go ahead and click on that, you'll see it gives you all the instructions. It also gives you the code, and it shows you which sections you have to replace. And then you'll that banner image will appear on your calendar. It also gives you the size of the image that you're really looking for. That fits best in that space. So you go ahead and follow those directions, and you can upload your banner image. So beyond that, I'm going to go back over to the calendar settings so we can look a little bit more into this page and see what's happening here. You don't really have to worry about too much. You can change the title of it if you want, and that's what's going to appear not only on your calendar page, but also for your patrons. And you'll see all of these little information boxes here for each one. If you're not really sure, just go ahead and hover over it, and it'll tell you all about it. One thing you don't want to really touch is the calendar owner. So don't change the calendar owner. It will say Franklin Lakes Library. If you change this, that means you are no longer the owner, and you no longer have access to editing the calendar. So I'll have to go in and fix that for you. So just keep that as Franklin Lakes. This is your default registration form. So if you have a registration form that you're going to use kind of as a default, it's the one you always want to start with. You don't have to think about it. You can add that one here, and it's a big drop-down menu, and you'll see there's lots and lots of registration forms, and we'll get into how to create those today. The default is just a full name and email. It's going to ask for a first and last name and email address. And then the last thing you can look at really is the friendly URL. Here you can change the name. It probably says Franklin Lakes right now. You don't really have to worry about it. If you want to change the name of it, you can. And this is just basically the URL to your public calendar. And the last three here, you can choose to change these if you want. The last one is the one that I hesitate checking off, because a lot of times patrons will register multiple people using the same email address or phone number, especially if they have kids. So I would say don't check that one off if you want to allow them to register using the same email address or phone number. And then you can make registration required, but you can also choose that every time you make an event. So if you make it as the default and you decide you don't want registration, you're going to have to uncheck that in the event. And then you can also allow events to book multiple rooms and locations if you'd like. And then just click save if you change any of these things. So going across the top here, we have the Event Explorer, and this is where you're going to kind of pull reports on all your different events. And publishing workflow, you don't really have to worry about this. This is if you wanted to give another account the ability to approve events, but you only have one account, so we don't really have to worry about that. Email settings, these are all your default emails. So if you want to change any of these, you can go ahead and expand that, and you can change them all. And you see it's a mail merge basically, and here are all of your tags that you can use, and you can create your default emails that will go out on event confirmation, waiting list event confirmation, things like that. So definitely explore those, read through each one, see if you like the way it's worded. And I would also recommend creating some test events and doing some test registration so you get an idea of what your patrons are going to see. Next, as we head through, we have look and feel, and this is the basic look of your calendar. So is it a default view of a month, or do you like the start day being Monday instead of Sunday? And you can choose to include weekends and show past events. If you unclick this, then all past events will be cleared from that patron calendar, and your hours that you want it to start and finish. So definitely check through these as well. If you're not quite sure, go ahead and hover over the info and you'll see it. And next we have the colors. So if you want to change the colors of the look of if you want to kind of use your branding in the calendar. So I just want to show you an example of this. I'm going to look at Tenafly because Tenafly is very active on their calendar, and they have done a lot to update there. So you'll see their banner image is updated, and they've also used their brand colors within here. So they've made sure that their events have a branding color, and then their bar across the top also has that color. So if I were to look at their public view on their calendar, I'm going to see the same thing. We see a lot of these colors kind of reflected in the calendar. So that again was in look and feel. So I'll just jump back over so you can see where we were. That was under look and feel here, and it's pretty straightforward. Then you can add categories, and there are a lot of categories that we have added as a consortium. So there's consortium-wide categories and tags, and then there's also categories that you can add specifically for your calendar, and this is where you're going to do that. Maybe you want to keep track in a different way than the consortium categories allow. Definitely check them out as you are creating events and see what you think would work best. And then the last two, you don't really have to worry about them too much. The integrations, we can integrate it with your Google Calendar. Basically, what it's going to do is going to pull the information from LibCal and put it onto one of your Google Calendars. If you do want to do something like that, just let me know. We'll have to set that up together. And then the embed and export, and most of the time people will use this for the iCal just to, again, sync up with their calendar. If you look at the top menu across the top here, we have the help, and this is, again, LibCal's help desk, basically. You can type your question in, you can go right into documentation, you can go into the training recordings. They have a lot of information on here. So if you're ever looking for something, this is a great place to start. Your profile is where you're going to update your event organizer box. And basically, this is a little box that appears on any event that you create, and it tells about your library. So usually the libraries will include a logo, and then their email address, their address and phone number. So if we go ahead and look at one of these, let's do this. Let's go to if we look at one of their events, here you'll see on the right-hand side, there's this box that says event organizer. They have their logo, they've added their library name, their contact information, and you can also add links to your social media accounts. So in order to update that information, you basically want to do all that here. Now, we actually do that from the source side of things. So the first thing you do is you add your image, that image that you want to appear within that box. And so you're going to add that here. You can just launch the image manager from this spot. So you go ahead and click that button. And then when you want to add the other information, you need to add it within the source code. So no fear, we have done that for you again. So if you go to LibCal and you go to the number 3, customizing your profile for the event organizer box, here is the code. So you're just going to replace the highlighted sections. If you would like to add your social media accounts, the code is here for you. If you don't want them, you can just get rid of this whole section. And you can always go back in and edit any of these things later. So that's your event organizer box, and that again was under profile. So that when you go to your profile, this is what you're going to see. And don't forget, when you do this, and it's in the instructions, but just to remind you, when you add this information, make sure you do it from the source side of things. And then we have stats. So if you want to run some statistics on your event, you can do it from here. So I chose stats and then events. And then this is where you're going to choose all of your filters and run those stats. Maybe at the end of the month, you want to see how many events you had for adults and what their attendance was versus how many people actually registered. So this is where you're going to do that. So if I do, let's go for Tenafly again. If I go to Tenafly and I'm going to show adults, yeah, that's good. Here, it's going to show me the confirmed registrations, the waiting list registrations, canceled registrations, and then you can actually, you can confirm people as they're attending your event, or even afterwards, you can go in and manage the event and put in the actual attendance. And I'll show you how to do that when we get to the events. So you can see all kinds of information, and you'll see they do it in all different ways. They give you lots of graphs and stuff. So very useful when you're planning programming for later. And then we're back to events. The other things you don't really have to worry about because we don't subscribe to those. So any questions so far?
I had one
Yep.
question.
Yeah.
So we're all going to have the same account. Does that mean that we can't input our events at the same time as one another?
No, I believe that you can be logged in at the same time.
Okay.
And it will update everything like in real time, so you can actually work on things together.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So, I'm sorry, is the town calendar going away, the events?
Yeah, Jen, the Evanced is no longer a platform, like they're sunsetting it.
Okay,
So that's why we're switching to this one.
okay, and is the town still gonna have some type of calendar on their website?
They're gonna figure something else out. So
My concern was the registration, like having a registration on the town calendar and then on this calendar. And it'd be like 2 different registrations. But
well, we probably wouldn't encourage registration through the town calendar. We can either embed our LibCal
okay,
with them or cross-post it that way, or just encourage people to register through our website.
okay.
That's good to know, because there is an option to actually create buttons for your event that you can then embed. We can embed calendars and all kinds of different widgets as well, but so each event you can actually do a button. So if the town is posting something and you want to just give them your button to embed, then when they click on it, it'll bring them to your event, and you can they can register that way.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into creating events. It's really easy to create an event. They ask for a lot of information. You can give them all of it, or you can give them some of it. So you can add the event right from this button here, or you can go directly to the date. So, and just click on the date. And if you do that, the date automatically is populated. So now here's my interface for creating an event, and it's going to walk you through different sections. So the first is event date and time. We got the date because I clicked on the date. I need to choose a start time. So let's do 3 o'clock, and we're going to go till 5 p.m. We have the setup padding and teardown padding. So basically, you can give yourself some extra time at the beginning and at the end if you know you need that extra time for that room. Basically, it's your events are going to keep track of everything that's happening, or sorry, I should say your calendar is going to keep track of everything that's happening within your spaces in your library. So if you want to add 15 minutes of teardown here and you're using your cafe, and then somebody goes to try to create an event in the cafe and they want to start it at 5 o'clock, they're going to see a message that it's not available because you've added this 15 minutes of teardown. They would actually have to start their event at 5:15. So just something to keep in mind. It will keep track of those things for you. And again, if you get lost or you're not sure what everything is, just go ahead and hover over it and it'll tell you. So we can create this one-time event, or we can create recurring events. So the one-time event can happen all day, or I can choose that it's a repeating event or a recurring event, and it can repeat in a couple of different ways. You can do it the usual way, like it's every day, and I choose the end date, or it's every like 3 weeks or 4 weeks on Wednesday. I can do the same thing monthly, or I can choose specific dates. So I'm going to say it starts on this date, and then I'm going to add another date. Maybe it's a Friday. I'm going to add that date, and then I need to pick another date. Let's say it's going to happen on a Tuesday in January. I'm going to add that date. Don't forget to click the add date button after you choose it. Otherwise, it's actually not added. It's just sitting there waiting to be added. So I've added these 3 dates. So this event is always going to happen at 3 o'clock till 5 on these dates. And now I need to create an event title. So let's call this testing 1 2 3. I need to give it a description, and again, you'll see the the event title is required, but the description is not required. And with any WYSIWYG interface here, I can add all kinds of other things. So I can add an image here, I can add some source code, I can change the formatting of everything, so you can make it look however you want it to look. And then I'm going to choose a featured image. So this is an image that you want specifically for this event. So I'm just going to flip over to this tab here that we had for that Tenafly event, and this is their featured image. So you see this is how it appears on their event. So far we've got the featured image here on the left side. We have our title, we have our description, and then this is more information that we need to add into that. So as we continue down, we have our featured image. You can attach a related LibGuide. If you saw a LibGuide that we did and you want to attach it, you can find it there. This is your friendly URL. So if you want to actually give it a URL that matches your title, that would be smart. So I would call it testing 1 2 3. And here is where I'm going to add Franklin Lake. For me, I would add Buckles. And if you're not sure what this is, you can hover over again. The first one is your library. You want to make sure that you choose your library from this list, right? Franklin Lakes Public Library. That means that it is going to appear at your library. The event is happening at your library. And then location, and I'm not really sure why, but this is a very weird kind of misnomer. This is the one where you want to choose Franklin Lakes Library. This is the account holder. So that is going to be what determines who the event box organizer is. So to explain that better, this event organizer box, that's going to determine what appears there. So if you hover over location, you'll see that it's the user that you want to show as the event organizer. So the good thing to know is that you just want these both to say Franklin Lakes. And then you can add a presenter if you want. If you have somebody presenting there, you can add all kinds of audiences. And these, again, are set up on the consortium level. So you can add any of these audiences. You can add an anticipated attendance, especially if you're going to be running a report later to see how many people actually attended versus how many you thought would attend. And maybe that helps determine your marketing plan going forward. You can select a category, and these again are the system-wide categories are on the bottom, so you can scroll through those and see what is offered. And then the ones on the top, those are the ones that you added specifically for, they were called top level categories. Those are the ones that you will add. You can change the color of the event, and that's where we saw Tenafly. They kind of adhered to their branding colors on that. You can choose to change that. It's totally up to you. It really only appears on your calendar. So if you want to do it by department, maybe that's a good way to kind of keep them clear on your own calendar. You can add some internal tags and notes as well. Again, not required. Now, where we go into the location. So this is where you're going to choose an actual location. So I'm going to choose a room. So I'll start typing in Franklin Lakes, and here are your 4 rooms that you have available to use. So I'll just go ahead and choose the one that you want, and it's going to assign the event to that room. And if you notice, it says the cafe is available. So if the cafe had that teardown time, it would say the room is not available. And you can always check the availability again by just clicking this button, and it's going to tell me again it is available. If it is an in-person event, you don't need online information. If it's an online event, you can go ahead and change that to online and add some information there. And next is the event registration. So I'm going to say, yes, registration is required for this event. And this is the maximum in-person registration. And then the maximum online is grayed out because it's an in-person event. They can't, they're not appearing online, basically. And then my registration form. So we need to set up a registration form, and then you're going to choose the form, and you would again search for Franklin Lakes and add the registration form there. And now we need to decide when registration is going to open and when it's going to close. So when can they start actually registering for your event, and can they start now as soon as it's published, or do they have to wait until maybe a week before the event? And then you also need to choose a registration close time. Does the registration just close when the event starts, or do you want to give yourself a buffer and say an hour before the event? And again, that of course is always up to you and how your events are run. If you have a cost, you can add the cost there. And here we again have that allowing multiple attendees with a single registration. So it was like that default section in your profile, in your calendar setting. You can choose to allow attendees to register with a single registration, or you can, and you can add a waiting list when they are fully booked. So if you want people to register their 6 children with them, you can go ahead and add that. And if you want them to be able to put themselves on the wait list, when an event is fully booked, the registration button will still appear in the event. But when I click on it as a patron, I'm going to see, okay, I'm registering for a wait list. Do I want to add my name to this wait list? And then we have a BCC confirmation email. So a confirmation email is going to be sent out no matter what. But if you want to add somebody to this, because maybe it's the person who is actually creating the event, maybe it's yourself, you want to add your own email address here to make sure that you get a confirmation email anytime that somebody registers, you can do that here. So this next checkbox is one to always remember to at least look at. So if you have created a series event or a recurring event, as we did with this one, it has 3 different occurrences. So if you want somebody to register for all 3 with one registration, they only have to register once, and they are then signed up for all 3 events or all of the events in the series, then you want to click this checkbox. And then it'll ask you, do you want to allow the registrants until the last event in the series? Should they be able to register, even if an event has already happened in the series, should they still be able to register later? Then you go ahead and click this. If you want your patrons to register for each individual event in the series, don't check the box. And again, if you get confused, you can go ahead and hover over it, and it gives you a little example. So if you're doing a training session that is, you know, many events long or many dates long, and you want them to be able to register for all of them at once, then you want to click that. And would you like to send them an email reminder? If you do, how often or when would you like that reminder to go out? And then also a follow-up email versus or slash survey. And if you choose either one of these, it's going to ask you what you want the email to look like. So you can actually customize it here. We have the default ones that we saw earlier, but you can actually customize each one for each event here. And it'll give you a little preview. And as we continue, we have your file attach. If you want to attach a file to your event for some reason, maybe it's a supply list or something, and you can send event announcements on social media. And again, here it is. And then the last part is the publishing. So you can choose to either publish it right away, or you can save it as an unpublished draft. As you saw, I had one earlier that was saved as an unpublished draft. So if it's unpublished, it will not appear for the patrons. It will only appear on your side. And you can go in and change the status of this at any time. So any questions about creating an event?
I had one question.
Mhm.
So for the spaces, I know we were talking about this earlier.
Mhm.
Is there a way to, I don't know, Elise, if you want to weigh in on this either. So we have grab and goes, so they're not necessarily in, like I wouldn't be booking a room for it.
Mhm.
Is there a way to just add grab and go as like a quote unquote
So we can
space, or is
add, yeah, we can add basically anything that you want to it.
Okay.
So if you want to add a different location that's called Franklin Lakes Grab and Go, we can definitely add that. You can name it whatever you want it to be.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay, but there is also the option of no location, so you can always choose there's no location.
Okay.
Other questions about setting up events?
Oh, yeah, we do have,
Yeah, what if it's only for your patron, like Franklin Lakes only?
Yeah, so right now, there's no way that we can limit registration for outside of your library other than making that clear in your description. So basically, you have to tell them this is for Franklin Lake patrons only. We can do something, let me go back. It was
I
up
mean, it's
here.
rare that we do that, but just every once in a while.
Yeah, there is a way to restrict to Buckles patrons, but there's no way to restrict specifically to the library.
Okay.
Well, is there a particular registration form that asks for name, email address, and library card, say, for example, so we could, yeah.
Yeah, we can. You can definitely ask that. You can ask for the library card number, but all it will do is basically check and make sure that the patron is a Buckles library card holder, and it will not be able to check specifically
Well, yeah,
for
just
your
so
library,
just so we
but
can
you'll
see.
be able to see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
can-
and then when you manage and when you go in and look at your registration, you'll be able to see if they belong to your library or not.
Is there a way to move somebody to the wait list if they're not from town? Like, can we manually do that?
Yeah, let's look at that together. I'm not sure you'll be able to change them to the waiting list or if you'll be able to cancel their registration. We'll double check that together.
You might have to cancel them and then re-register them by hand, putting them on.
Right. I probably can move them. I just haven't done it in a while. I'll have to double check. Okay, so now that we've created our event.
Or if I can interrupt for 1 second.
Yeah.
I do know that if you have a registration going on for your program, and if someone cancels on the wait list, automatically gets bumped up so that you have a full registration. So you don't have to go in and you know, if someone cancels, you don't have to do anything. It'll automatically do that.
Yes, it'll definitely pull from the waiting list, but I'm not sure if you're able to take somebody from the registered patrons and move them to the waiting list. So we'll definitely check on that together. So now that we've created an event, if I go ahead and click on the event here, I'll be shown this pop-up screen, and there's a few things that I can do here. One, I can go in and modify. So if I need to change anything about the event that I've created, I'm going to modify the event here. If it is a series event, you'll see an option to modify just that event, or do you want to modify the entire series? So you'll see those two options in this dropdown. So that's where you'll go here, and it'll bring you back to that event page, and you'll be able to modify any of the information. Here is my event URL, and you'll see I created that. I added that info here, the test event, and if I just click on the little eyeball, it'll bring up the event here. This is my event image, and here's my event organizer box and my information about the event. Also within this box, I can manage my event and I can add the attendance. So if once you've had your event, you can add your actual attendance here so that later when you're running those reports, you'll see how many people actually attended. We saw that earlier. And so once you add that information, the in-person or online or both, don't forget to click save. And then we can manage the event. So in the manage event, actually, I'm going to go and find a Tenafly one because there's a little, they have registration and this event doesn't have registration and it's not even published. So let's go look at one where they have an event. And I'm going, the manage information is only going to appear once the event has taken place. I think this is the one that. I have to find the one again. Oh, excuse me. I just realized I'm not logged in as an admin, so I can't see their information. So I'm just going to switch my account. So now I see here's all the information for the event. I can add the actual attendance and I can manage the event. I just want to jump back and show you here. Here it is down here in the bottom right-hand corner, modify the single event or modify all recurring events. So this is a recurring event, so those two options appear here. All right, so let's go ahead and manage this. So here's all of my registration. And as the event happens, I can confirm the attendance, so I can do it right then. You can have this open on your iPad and actually check off people as they attend, or you can go back in and update all of this information. Here's my wait list. So it'll automatically, as we said before, it'll automatically pull them into the registration once people cancel. And now I just want to see if we can edit them on the wait list. Have the, you can see here their information, but we can't just move them to the wait list. So I believe you have to delete them. I don't believe that you can move them into the wait list. I will definitely double check on that and get back to you guys about it. So you had your registrations, you had your wait list, you had anybody who canceled, and you can email the attendees directly from here. So you can create an email and just send it off. And this is where you can create the event button. So if you're creating that button and you want to embed it somewhere, you can do that here. And you can change the look of it and everything and what you want it to say, and it will automatically send the user to your event registration. Any questions about creating events or managing events?
Oh, one thing, if I was just going back to what Megan said, if we needed to add a room to or add a location to our defaults, who do we contact? How do we go about that?
Go ahead and fill out the support form. So
Okay.
if you go to the support form and choose web services, it should ask questions about that.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to actually embed this calendar somewhere. So you need to add the account. You need to make a registration form, excuse me, and you need to embed the calendar. So under events, where you went to find the Franklin Linux calendar, here we have registration forms and widgets. So first is registration forms. You need to create at least one, I would say, registration form, unless you like the default registration form being just first name, last name, and email address. If you want to add to that, you go ahead and make one of your own. You can start from new, create from new, or you can create by copying an existing form. So I would recommend going through some of their registration forms and seeing what people have already created, and then copy from there, rather than just kind of creating from scratch. If you know that you've seen one that you like, go ahead and copy that. So you can click copy. It's going to ask you which one you want to copy. And then you need to give it a new name and click save. And once you do that, you can edit the form. Let's do one from new, so you know what that would look like. I'm going to call the test form. I'm going to save that. Now I just need to find my form and edit it. So I have, here's my form, test form, and I'm going to click the little edit button. And on the left side is information that for identification. And on the right side is the preview of the form. So this is what it's actually going to look like when your patron clicks on the registration button. So you can choose to add, right? You can add the email, you can make it active or you can make it required. You can also add a help button to it or help info to that so they understand what you're looking for. And then you can add a question. So say I want to add the question, what's your sign? That's a good one. And then what kind of question is it? Is it a radio button or is it a checkbox, or maybe it's just single line text? And should it be required? Let's say yes. I'm going to add the question, and right away you see it appears on the right side in the preview. So maybe what's your sign isn't the best question to ask a patron, but you got to start somewhere. So once you're good with that, you need to make sure you click save, and it will save the form. And then when you create your event, you can find that form. So if I go ahead and go back to my event that I created, and I'm going to modify this event. And luckily, it's not live yet, so I don't really have to worry about it. And I'm going to make the registration required, so I don't have to worry about, I didn't have a form ready for this. So here's my registration form, and I need to find it. So I need to scroll through a lot. This is the one place that unfortunately does not have like an autofill. And here it is, test form. And I can add that form to it. And I'm going to keep it as an unpublished draft, but I'm going to submit it or save it. So I have to, because I've opened registration, I need to add people. So it's great. It reminds you like, oh, you didn't do this yet. You need to add this. Let's try it one more time, see if it allows. And it does. So to create registration forms, go to events, registration forms, and you can either create a new form or copy an existing one. Anytime you copy one, it's going to ask you to rename it so you're not overriding anybody else's info. And lastly, we have widgets. So this is how you're going to embed your calendar on your website or somebody else's website. So we can choose a bunch of different options here. We have the calendar, and you'll see the preview appear on the right. And if I choose this one, this is what it looks like. There's nothing on that calendar, so it's pretty boring. But if we go back to Centerfly, this is what their calendar looks like. There's much more happening. You can choose what kind of view you want it to be. This is the month view. It's pretty long, so you have to scroll through. This is the old calendar look. You can, and this is where you see the colors really do appear. So that is another look that they had, and you can change the options below, the size of it, and the setup. You can also do a mini calendar, and this is again just a nice option where it doesn't take up a ton of space, and it just shows a bit of information, and you can add some filters to this as well. And it's going to ask you all kinds of information. You want to make sure that you add all of your library information in there. And then if you want to filter it by different categories, again, it will ask you if you want to change the size of it. And then with all of the different widgets, it's going to give you the URL for that widget. And it's also going to give you the embed code if you choose that. So here's the embed code. All you have to do is copy it and then paste it into your site. I'm going to scroll quickly back up to the top so we can see we had the calendar, the old look, the mini calendar, and this is not really a great example of how it looks. It's a little bit more rectangular, and it shows just a bit of the information, like the title of the upcoming event. And then you can have one that just shows upcoming events, and then one that is just today's events, which is kind of a nice addition on your site. Like you just sit there and it says, okay, this is today's event. This is everything that's happening at the library today. And once you put all the information in, don't forget to grab that embed code or the URL at the bottom. Any questions about registration forms or widgets? No.
Yes.
Oh.
Oh, sorry.
No, go right ahead.
Going back to the waitlist,
Yeah.
Is there a question you could ask that if they say no, it would be just, I'm just asking this because the calendar that we're currently using has that ability. So like, are you a Franklin Lakes resident? If they say no, it would automatically move them to the wait list. Is that not a function
I
here
don't
either?
know it to be a function. It doesn't mean it isn't one, but I don't know it to be one.
Okay.
But I will definitely double check on that.
I'm kind of curious to look at how the other, I saw a couple of different libraries had, you know, like Allendale card holders only or Closter Library card holders only, and take a look how they did it, maybe.
Yeah.
And did you see an event that accepted registration online and they were asking those kind of things?
We just, the current calendar that we're using, the events like for the borough, the staff has the ability to limit that. So we can like say what kind of questions we want to ask, like you can with LibCal, but
Right.
if they say, yes, I am a Franklin Lakes resident, they'll be put on the main list. And if they say, no, I'm from out of
Right.
town, it'll put them on the wait list so that it prioritizes the Franklin Lakes residents. And that way we don't have to go in and cancel them.
Right.
That was really just why I was asking. I wasn't sure if that was like something that we could do through LibCal as well.
Yeah, gotcha. Elise, did you see another library using that terminology that you just spoke of on LibCal? Did you see them using like those questions?
I haven't seen it used. I do know
Okay.
that like at Hillsdale, they're kind of having a similar issue where the registration gets filled by out of town patrons like immediately. And people from town, like my mom, who complains to me a lot about it, can't get into the programs. But I we have a similar, you know, thing here that we want to be able to prioritize our residents. We never did that at Leonia, so I don't know how it would work in practice or like what Hillsdale's doing about it or what about it
Yeah.
here. So yeah.
As far as I know, right now, the libraries, I don't think it's one to show that, but the libraries are just putting it into their description within the event, but there's no way to stop somebody from registering if they're not a patron or a resident of the town. But I'll definitely double check and see if there's another kind of workaround for that. Any other questions? No. Okay. So that's basically everything that we wanted to get through today. You got logged in, you have your event calendar, you can change your events or add events, you can manage them. Just want to remind you, on Buckles Connect, if you go to the LibCal page, you'll find a bunch of different documents about LibCal. Everything from getting started, logging in, to customizing that banner image, and then the event organizer box. So those two, definitely check those out so that you can add all of your information to your each individual event, but also your calendar, so everybody knows it's your calendar. And then how to create and manage registration forms, and then of course creating your events, updating them, and managing them afterwards. So if there's no other questions, I think we're going to call it quits. If you have any questions going forward, feel free to reach out to me. If you want to add things like rooms and stuff, definitely do that through the support form, because then we track it in a different way. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and happy event making.
Thanks so much, Joseph.
You're very welcome.